Are you tired or frustrated maybe with the process of inventing and going down that path to trying to get your product licensed? Well, stick around if you'd like to learn how to find the kind of perseverance and persistence that you need to be successful in this business. Hi, Lisa Lloyd here with more tips, tricks, and strategies to help you optimize and accelerate your invention licensing success. If you like what you learn here today, please hit those like and subscribe buttons. It's a free way to support me doing this. And when you hit the notification bell, you'll be the first to know whenever I've posted a new video each and every week. Every single deal is going to be different. As an inventor, with a different invention, with different companies, they all come with their own challenges. And it's not just at the end of the process when you're trying to get it licensed and getting in front of companies and getting those dreaded no's from the companies. There are a number of challenges that you're going to have to overcome every single step of the way down that path. And I'm assuming in this video that you have done all of the proper research and validated the opportunity. No matter how good the idea is and no matter how much research you've done, there will be landmines along the way. Now, I've done over $30 million in sales with the 7 products that I've personally licensed of my own inventions, and every one of them were unique and had their own obstacles that I had to overcome. When I was first getting started, my first invention was called the French Twister. It was a small product that would fold up around your hair, roll up, and make a French twist with a couple of bobby pins. Now, I did my original proof of concept with a hanger and foam on it, and it worked great. The first big problem, though, that I encountered was I couldn't find anybody locally that knew how to make it or that could make it for me. So after interviewing several manufacturers, there was one in particular that was very kind and generous with his time and helped me redesign it, rethink how it could be made using injection molded plastic parts instead. And that ultimately was what we went to market with. But that also presented a new problem. Now I needed the money for tooling and parts that I just didn't have at 23 years old. So we began negotiating, for lack of a better word, what kind of a buy-in he would be willing to do. And ultimately, I was able to get him to join the cause, so to speak, by doing the venture on contingency. So in other words, he made me my first 500 pieces that I could go out and test, and I gave him a small stake in the company in exchange. So a little creative financing got me around that obstacle, in addition to solving the problem with how it would be made. Now, it would have been very easy for me to just walk away as soon as I found out there were no factories that could help me do this way, I should say, back then. And then even after I figured out how to do it with plastics and he explained to me what the cost would be associated with that, I think it was around $20,000 to open a mold and to make me my first 1,000 or so parts. And I could have walked away at that point because there was no way I could come up with $20,000 at that time. But every single time I hit an obstacle, I came up with a creative solution for it. So with our first 500, I went out and started selling them door to door, but I realized I really needed to do some advertising. And I had worked in the advertising business, so I understood how to produce a commercial. And I found a local production company that was willing to write a jingle for me and script the whole thing and produce an awesome direct response commercial. One more challenge though, big ticket item. I didn't have another $10,000 to give them either. So once again, thinking creatively, and instead of just walking away or even just going and trying to raise the money, I had them right in front of me. They were clearly excited about it. So I extended an offer to them to basically put some sweat equity into the company and do the work for me on a contingency basis or a rev share basis as well. And they were not only, to my surprise, willing to do it, but they were actually excited at the opportunity because they saw that they had the potential to earn a lot more on the back end than they would have been paid if I paid them up front. Now, that was a scary proposition I think at that point I might be 25 years old, 24 years old. So, for me to ask for something like that from someone of that stature, I mean, they had a very big production agency and they were well known for what they did nationally. And even just writing the jingle was a big deal for me. So having their support just continued to reinforce my confidence. And most importantly, I think, though, I was afraid to ask. I just did it anyway. So I could have walked away once again with my tail between my legs and said, oh, I can't afford this, or I need to go figure out how I can afford it, or get a credit card or a loan. And instead, I just put the ask out there while it was hot. And they, fortunately for me, accepted. And so we were off to the races. We had this beautiful commercial. It was running on local cable television. We were getting some orders that way. Plus, I was wholesaling into the stores. So we started to see some growth. I'm thinking, okay, big challenges are all behind me. We're ready to go. And then this new product called Hairdini popped up on direct response as well, but they were doing it on national television, and I certainly didn't have the money for that either. So deflated, feeling like I got the wind knocked out of me at that point, I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can continue. I remember being really sad about it. And I talked to my mother, bless her heart. She was very encouraging. And she reminded me that we had read about licensing in the back of David Pressman's Patent It Yourself book. And I thought that was, kind of a backdoor deal, and that was kind of like failing. But I, at that point, was so afraid I was going to fail epically based on the fact that I couldn't keep up with or compete well with the Hairdini, which kind of did the same thing as mine. That was really the only way to go. So I ended up starting to call on companies, and I thought, okay, we'll get this licensed. And we got Goody on the phone, and they finally, after negotiating, they loved the product. They did their research on it. They decided to send me a contract. I signed it, sent it back, and thought, whew, okay, we're good to go. Only to find out that the VP of marketing at the time called me back and said that Newell had just acquired Goody, and they were being Newellized, and as a result, she couldn't finish the deal with me. And once again, the wind was just let out of my sails. I thought, oh my gosh, I've come so far. I kept getting these false starts, where I thought it was going to work out and it didn't. And I didn't know how much more of that I could take. But rather than focusing on the past, I went back into problem solving mode and suggested that, we follow up, or is there any way that you can just get this done before your deal with Newell is done? So that at least we were flying under the radar, and she just said no. So once again, I could have just quit and walked away with my tail between my legs. And in honesty, I kind of did. I took a break. I got another job working at another production company and was getting married at the time. So I just took a little, I think about 6 months from it, just breathing space. Not to say that it wasn't on my mind every single day. And we still had some local customers that I was serving. And then my mother called one day and said, there's this new company. I've never seen them before. I think it's Skunky or Scrunky, or I don't know how to say the name. But she gave me the information, and I called them, and they were very interested in licensing also. And to make a very long story short, so that this isn't too long of a video, bottom line is they did the deal, and I had my first check within, 2 weeks of that conversation for $20,000, which was an advance against future royalties, which were locked in at a 5% royalty. Well, it was 3% while pending, 5% once the patent issued, so it would change royalty rates, and $60,000 a year guaranteed minimum income for this little hair accessory that was going to sell for about $1.99 in Walmart. So as you can see, there were many roadblocks that at the time, it's easy for you to look at this with me now and say, oh, she got there. So of course that was easy to overcome. But I didn't have the foresight to know that it was going to end the way that it did. Every one of those were potential periods and not commas. And because I inserted a comma and used my persistence to learn from everyone that I spoke with and just kept pressing through and asking as many people as I could for help along the way, I found that people were all too willing to participate, especially in my enthusiasm for the project. And ultimately that obviously led to getting that deal done. But at any point I could have quit with all of those obstacles. Now I could go on and tell you story after story and how not those exact types of challenges, but all new challenges came up with every single one of my 7 inventions that I've licensed. And at any time I could have, and maybe most people would have, quit. But you have to understand that if you are an inventor or an entrepreneur and you want to bring new innovation to the world, it is going to come with its obstacles. And so be prepared to be persistent, dig in, surround yourself with the right people who can help you get from where you are. And most importantly, use every one of those roadblocks or obstacles as a learning opportunity for you to pivot or change. In fact, I have this video, push, pass, or pivot, that you can go back and also check out to reinforce this idea with some other examples of when to quit, when to keep going, or when to hit the pause button. Either way, I just hope that you'll reconsider, if you're thinking about quitting, instead reconsider how you can press in persistently with the right questions and overcome obstacles with innovative solutions, the same way you solved a problem by inventing in the first place. Always be learning and always be innovating your own process. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you like what you heard and learned, please hit those like and subscribe buttons. Like I said, it's a free way to support me doing this. And don't forget to book a free call with me if you'd like some help. Dare to dream and imagine what's possible when powered by innovation.